What would it do with $10,000? The coffee trick and no millions. If I had $10,000, I would buy a coffee kiosk. Imagine you sell coffee for $5 a cup and the cost is $1. That's 400% profit. True, my friend already did this and then found out that renting a kiosk costs $3,000 a month. Now his coffee costs him nerves and sleepless nights. Conclusion. Sometimes it's better to just buy a coffee machine for home. Dream RV. If I had $10,000, I'd buy a van and turn it into a mini RV. Travel around the country, save money on housing. True, one friend already did this, but forgot to take into account the price of gas. Now he parks in a Walmart parking lot and rents out the van. So at least he realized half of his dream. Buy lottery tickets. $10,000? Buy 10,000 lottery tickets for $1. The odds of winning the Powerball are only 1 in 292 million, but who knows? On the other hand, I'll probably just end up on how not to spend money, and at least make a YouTube video of me opening all those tickets. Going to Vegas. If I had $10,000, I'd go to Vegas. Just imagine. $5,000 for bets, $3,000 for a hotel, $2,000 for cocktails and dinners. And after 2 days, I'll probably have only a fridge magnet and a bunch of Instagram photos left. But as the saying goes, what happened in Vegas stays in Vegas. I'll buy stocks, but which ones? $10,000 in stocks? Great plan. I'd put $9,000 in Apple and $1,000 in AMC in case memes come back. In a couple of years, I'll probably have either $15,000 or $0. But at least I'll be able to proudly say I was an investor. A billionaire's cup of tea. If I had $10,000, I'd order myself a personal Hermes tea set. Not because I like tea that much, but because I want to see how rich people drink Earl Grey. True, then I'll have to drink water for the rest of the year, but the teapot will cost more than my car. Supporting small businesses yourself. I would invest $10,000 in opening my own bakery. Granted, I only bake cookies, and they usually burn. Maybe my cafe would be called Burnt Dreams, but at least I'd have a sign, and that's a success. Dream trip. Spend all your money on a round-the-world trip? Easy. Just keep in mind that after a couple of weeks in Paris and Tokyo, I'll spend the rest of the trip on Greyhound buses, eating instant noodles. But what content for social media? A festival in my own name. If I had $10,000, I would rent a park, hire a band, bring in food from the best restaurants, and throw a festival in my own name. The problem is, my party would only have 5 people at most. Everyone would end up eating sushi, and I would be broke and friendless. Giant gum pool. I would spend it all on packs of gum. Why? To build a giant swimming pool. Only then would I realize that swimming in gum is a bad idea. And throwing it all away would cost another $5,000. TikTok Course Master. I would create the most expensive and unique course on how to become successful on TikTok. True, knowing how quickly trends change, my course would be outdated in a month. But who knows? Maybe it would become my hit, or at least give me 15 minutes of fame. Buy the dip, but don't go overboard. I took $10,000 and threw it into Tesla stock back in 2019 when shares were trading at about $45 pre-split. Today, those shares are worth over $120,000. But here's the kicker. My cousin did the same thing with Dogecoin in 2021 and lost $8,000 in 2 weeks. Lesson learned? Research first and diversify. Don't YOLO the entire 10K on a meme. Unless you enjoy living on the edge. Turn it into passive income. I used my $10,000 to buy 3 vending machines and place them in local gyms. Each machine makes about $200 a month, and after covering snack costs, I clear $400 a month in profit. That's $4,800 a year, meaning the machines pay for themselves in just over 2 years. Now I'm expanding to barbershops. It's a slow grind, but at least my money's not sitting idle. I spent it all on training. My brain. I invested $10,000 into an online coding bootcamp last year. The ROI, a tech job that pays $95,000 annually. Best decision I ever made. Sure, I had to give up my evenings binge-watching Netflix for 6 months, but now I can afford a subscription to every streaming platform. Education might not sound sexy, but it pays dividends literally. 10K in Beanie Babies oops. Back in 1999, my uncle spent $10,000 on Beanie Babies, thinking he'd retire rich. Fast forward, those collector's items are now in my attic collecting dust. When I got my own $10,000, I put it into an S&P 500 index fund. In 10 years, it's grown to $26,000. Turns out, boring is better when it comes to money. Real estate with a twist. I pooled my $10,000 with a buddy to buy a tiny Airbnb cabin in the Catskills. Total cost was $60,000, and we split the down payment. A year later, that little cabin brings in about $1,500 in profit each month. Passive income plus weekend getaways? Money well spent. Just don't forget about property taxes. They're no joke. Pay down debt, seriously, it's worth it. I had $10,000 sitting in my savings account, earning 0.01% interest, while my credit card balance was costing me 18% APR. Duh, right? I paid off the card and instantly saved $1,800 in annual interest fees. No stocks, no crypto, just plain math. Now I use the $150 per month I saved on payments to invest. Boring but effective. Try the startup life. I dumped $10,000 into a friend's quirky startup idea. Glow-in-the-dark phone cases. Spoiler alert, it flopped. But we learned a ton about marketing, manufacturing, and why no one needs a glowing phone. Sure, I lost the money, but the experience was worth it. Plus, now I can say I'm a former investor. Sounds fancy, right? Maxed out my Roth IRA. I used $6,500 to max out my Roth IRA for the year, the max contribution for 2024, and threw the rest into a high-yield savings account for emergencies. If the stock market averages 8% annually, my $6,500 could grow to over $65,000 in 30 years. Future me is going to be very grateful. Current me, not so much. Turn into travel rewards. I spent $10,000 on business expenses and used a credit card that offered 2x travel points. By the end of the year, I had over 200,000 points, enough for multiple round-trip flights to Europe. Here's the kicker. I paid off the balance in full, so no interest. It's not exactly investing, but memories are priceless, right? Gambled on myself and won. I used $10,000 to self-publish a fantasy novel I'd been working on. Editing, cover design, marketing, it all added up. 6 months later, it became a surprise hit, selling 50,000 copies and earning me $75,000 in royalties. If you've got a passion project, $10,000 can be your launch pad. Worst case scenario, I figured I'd have cool holiday gifts for years. Best case, life-changing. Living in an airport. I would spend everything on buying a VIP lounge pass at the airport and living there for a couple of weeks. Free food. Comfy couches sounds great until you realize you can't leave the airport and the smell of airplanes starts to get on your nerves. Giant space ball. I'd buy a giant inflatable ball shaped like the Earth and spend the entire weekend bouncing it around my neighborhood. The problem? The ball would fly away, and I'd be left feeling like I just lost $10,000 and the most ridiculous toy in the world. Most expensive Halloween costume. I'd spend it all on a costume for one party. Something like an armored robot with flamethrowers and light-up parts. I'd look awesome, but then I wouldn't even be able to go to the bathroom because of the weight of the costume. Buying up all the bananas in the supermarket. I would decide to buy all the bananas in the local store to become the king of bananas. Of course, after a couple of weeks, half of them would rot, and the rest would go to treat friends who would start avoiding my strange ideas. Jack of all trades. If I had $10,000, I'd buy professional tools and open a repair shop. Sounds cool until you remember that I once broke a doorknob trying to fix it. I figured that $9,000 of the $10,000 would go to repairs, and the rest would go to advertising my shop, Crooked Hands Inc. A cruise for all the money. I would buy a ticket for a round-the-world cruise. 2 months of enjoying life. The ocean, dinners under the stars, new friends. But judging by the reviews on the internet, after a week of cruising, you start to get bored. And by the end of the second month, you are ready to pay for a return ticket on a plane. And yet, what memories? Cashback, genius. I would spend $10,000 exclusively through credit cards with maximum cashback. For example, Amex gives up to 5% on travel. In the end, in a year, I would return about $500. Yes, it is not super profitable, but at least I can say that I turned the expense into an investment. And as a bonus, a decent credit history, an oasis out of nowhere. If I had $10,000, I'd buy some land in the Nevada desert. I'd build a tiny pond and plant trees. In a couple of years, I could rent it out for glamping or use it as an Instagram photo shoot. Just don't ask where the water comes from. I'm still thinking about it. The collection that ate everything. I'd buy rare comics. For example, the first issue of Action Comics with Superman is worth millions. But knowing me, I'd spend it all on weird collectibles like limited edition Funko Pop figures that no one wants in 5 years. Hello, garage sale. My own party bar. With $10,000, I'd buy a mobile bar, a van equipped with everything for parties. I'd go to every holiday in my city. Of course, considering how much I like to party, the income would hardly cover the expenses. But it would be the best van at weddings. Creating a clothing brand. I would create a mini clothing brand. Comfortable sweatshirts with my own designs. The problem is that I have zero experience in fashion, and the cat with pizza design is unlikely to make me rich. But at least my friends would walk around in unique t-shirts. I'm betting on education. I'd spend $10,000 writing textbooks, like How to Manage Your Money for Beginners. It sounds great in theory, but knowing me, I'd get stuck on chapter 3. Then I'd hand it over to some professional who would take most of the profits. Nostalgia for money. I would buy all the retro games and consoles that I dreamed of having as a kid, from the original Nintendo to the Sega Genesis. For a while, I would be the happiest person, and then I would realize that I don't even play them because I don't have time. But the collection would look gorgeous.